Hi, this is Dom from Badwater. I just wanted to get into this theme of missed opportunities where we find these limitations in ourselves from a mental level and we just avoid doing things that are outside our comfort zone. I've personally missed the boat on quite a few events in my life. The potential relationships I could have had with people, the ideas I could have turned into some kind of action, some businesses I could have started. I just think to myself, why did I miss out on these opportunities and these experiences in life? To reconstruct why we create these limiting beliefs for ourselves, I wanted to think about when I actually broke one and completely changed my life. Through middle school and high school, it was always uncomfortable to run at all. I had these wide feet where Converse shoes would fit just fine for walking, but they would be terrible for running. And then I'd take running shoes that were so uncomfortable. I'd wear 10 and a half running shoes where I was 8.5 foot because my feet were wide enough that I had to wear 10 plus to just fit in the shoe. So in high school, I did circuit training to avoid having to do the mile run that we do twice a year. So I became an okay weightlifter just so I can avoid aerobic physical activity. But I did kind of make up for that lack of athleticism in college. I would walk everywhere. I avoided cars, buses, trams in DC, in Gainesville, Florida, and in Seattle. I would just walk everywhere, and I absolutely loved it. I could wear my headphones and I just walk around the city and get to my place when I needed to. There was so much free time that I had between 18 and 22, maybe 18 and 24. That's one thing that I'm a little sad about nowadays is everything's tied together by a car. Just a few days ago, I actually took an hour walk to this music venue so I could watch something. It was nice to listen to music and just take your time to get somewhere, settle in, rather than there's a psychology to a car that you just drive up and there's expectations that just seem so sudden and hard. But when you walk up to the event after an hour of walking, this is what I used to do in Austin as well. You're coming into this event like in a soft glide. I don't know how to explain it right now, but it managed my expectations so well that I could just have fun with anything that could have happened that night. I didn't like the music that much, but I had a lot of fun. I would walk 6 to 15 miles a day just because. Sometimes I would just walk to a grocery store, but I always had an excuse to walk. There was always something to listen to, whether it was a podcast or music, especially since I was a very solitary person. That was the best entertainment I could have, music especially. For hikes, I would do 20 to 60-mile hikes. I guess that's cardio, but the way I did it, I took my time, so I wasn't working up my heart rate at all. I got into biking in 2017, and that was awesome. I would start riding 40 to 100 miles a day. That was mostly in Florida, and the beautiful things that you could see in 100 miles around Gainesville, the forests and swamps and hills. It was flat, but it was beautiful. I really liked it. But then I got fitted for shoes, just dress shoes in DC. I found out that I was 8.5 wide, and I never really thought about wide shoes before. I never really knew that they existed. So I started finding 9 wide running shoes, and it completely changed my life. I could start running. It didn't hurt. I started running 6 to 10 miles each day, and that completely changed my physicality. I became a light casual athlete because of that, running 40 to 70 miles a week. I lost a lot of weight after that. I was usually around 150 since my college years to about 2019, and then I dropped down to 135 from running. This running changed my perspective of what I could do in life. I was in emergency management as a writer, and I realized that I could do something outdoors, something more physical. I got this physical mentality to what I could do with work after I started running. I don't know why. I had this identity for years of being a writer and just staying with an office, but it completely changed after running. And that's the funny thing is that you almost always know that if you just pushed a little harder and made one more movement, you would have that breakthrough and you completely change your life. You just never know what's going to provide that breakthrough. You keep on digging for years and years and years and not hit that thing. But if you didn't quit, you're going to hit it eventually, or you'll die. But I'm describing one of the more innocent ways to hold yourself back. My excuse was that my shoes were horrible for running. And who would actually want to put themselves through that much pain and misery just so they could do running? I absolutely hated running. I had cold weather asthma in high school, and a lot of times we would have to run during wintertime. My lungs were burning, my feet hurt. There was no fun to it. But once I started running with running shoes that fit me, my feet didn't hurt, and I slowly got out of that asthmatic feel. Everything became comfortable and effortless. It allowed me to see cities and rural environments in a different way by doing this slow run, this 10-minute mile. That's the beautiful thing, is that walking, biking, and running all have their different feels to how you can see nature and the urban landscape. The way that it passes you by so quickly or slowly. When I walk through Reno, a few miles, 2 miles away from me is a casino that you can see from dozens of miles away. But I can see right now, it's like, wow, in 20 minutes, that casino is going to look a lot larger, but not that much larger, still a mile away. Another 20 minutes, and then suddenly it's right in front of you in its full size. That's what I was appreciating that Sunday night, walking to that music venue. But a lot of other missed opportunities, especially in my life, come from fears. It's the fear of embarrassing yourself, the fear of judgment from others, the fear that you're going to hurt yourself, the fear of general failure, of just being terrible at a thing. There are a lot of fears, and they're usually social. I'd say that most fears of failure are derived from other people's judgment of you because of that failure. Because if you failed in a video game and there's absolutely no one around you, you don't really care. You just start over and keep on going. You're not questioning your self-worth if you got killed in Call of Duty. But if you're on a multiplayer game and you're doing search and destroy and you're playing Call of Duty and get killed by your friend, you get a little more passionate about it. But you start trying to learn how to dance and you're just terrible at it for 6 months. And you see that people are trying to support you, but they can only have so much patience. Because I personally got stuck on that, is I don't want to be carried around with a skill that I suck at over and over again. So I shied away from trying to dance, trying to do Latin dancing. But you never know, is that if I spend another month doing it, would I have broken through and become competent enough that I can just start working on the skills and not thinking of how sucky I am? I'm not there yet. That's something I want to give a chance to later on, but I'm working so hard on different things right now that that's something I have to kind of ignore. But I'm working on this issue every day of these fears that I have inside myself that's keeping me away from doing things I want to do. In the last few years, there's been something inside me that's saying, you gotta push past it now. There are some things that are just worth it to push past and get it done. I've been working outdoors. I pushed my limits on that, and I'm very happy to have spent the last 7 years working outdoors and working in emergency management. But I know that soon enough, this season will be over, and I need to move on to the next thing, and I need to prepare myself for the next thing. So I need to build up all my skills that can help me be a better writer, be a better creator, be a better video editor, be a better cultivator of mushrooms, and have a better mindset about my life. So everything that I do for Badwater is integrated into what I want skill-wise in my life, so I can provide that to other people and help them. But just imagine if I stayed on course with that writing identity, what would I have shied away from? Where would I be right now? I would be comfortable enough writing for some government agency who's providing me a lot of good health benefits. And there we go. It's good based on the values you have at that moment. But if there was something itching inside me that wanted more out of life, I would have got myself in a hole. And that's the thing. When you miss opportunities, you're keeping yourself in a hole. Sometimes it's a really comfortable, nice hole. But if you're trying to discover new aspects of yourself, then you can't stay in that hole. You stay in the hole for a little bit because you should sometimes just settle down and really enjoy what you have. But sometimes you need to go out. There's a reason why humans kept on moving everywhere around the world. It's like, how come people in the tropics didn't just stay in the tropics? They slowly inched out into less comfortable areas. It's because there's this innate spirit of exploration and adventure inside people that even we who have discovered every inch of the earth still has to enact this exploration. So we start exploring deeper inside ourselves. We start exploring our social relationships further. We re explore places that we've mapped, but we never really got into detail about. We start going very deep into things that we've already found, and that's beautiful. I don't want to shy away from a variety of experience anymore. I specialize in some things, especially in outdoor work. It's taken up a lot of my time, and now I want to spend my time doing other things in life. And I want to experience other things that I've previously felt contradictory to my whole existence. My philosophy over the last 15 years has been a very practical spirituality, but maybe I want to go further into mystical spirituality to see the underlying depth of why something like Buddhism came about. And man, it scares me because it goes against the fabric of my kind of spirituality that doesn't really care about what's after we die. But maybe I should give more care about it because maybe that can help me be a better person. But what can really contradict the existence of a human being? I kind of think that it's mostly just self destructive or destructive acts toward other people. It's just an anti life type of activity. But there is one last one that drives this whole theme of missed opportunities. It's that the ego believes that certain ideas that it's not comfortable with is a contradiction to its existence. And we gain a lot of stability for ourselves with our ego. Our ego is a reminder to ourselves that we have certain preferences and our life makes more sense when we put these lines in the sand. And confusion can occur if we start messing with our ego and we start messing with our identity. Almost all objections to new experiences comes from the ego. My ego says, I'm not very good at partner dancing, so I keep on avoiding it. I can validate this. But if I actually put all of my effort and mind into it, I could probably be pretty competent at Latin dancing. But I'm scared, my ego is scared that I could prove it wrong. Because if I could prove it wrong, other things could be wrong in my life. It's a thread that you pull, and you don't know what's going to get undone as you're pulling it. You feel as if your principles and your morals could untwine as well. On another side is that our objections can be completely temporary because we can change our ego. We can modify it to whatever we want. It's not the easiest thing ever, especially for someone who ties their identity to their ego so much. But if your identity is about the changing of your ego, that I can change anytime my identity, then your ego is easily malleable. What we can avoid one day is something we can love the next day. And that's scary. That's scary for a lot of people because we think that there are innate truths in the world that are built on our own preferences of life, our own dislikes and likes. We kind of accept that everyone is very different and they all like their own thing, but we kind of secretly hold in ourselves that since I don't like this or I like this, that the world kind of works in my favor with this thing. Because why would we like this thing where it's going to just destroy us by being completely estranged from the world? We kind of think that in the end, everyone's going to come onto our side. But I just want to end with how I have come to this problem and my solution for it. It's not really like advice for other people, but I need to continually ask myself, what am I trying to preserve by avoiding these new experiences? And if it's not that important of a thing to preserve of myself, then I know that it's my ego holding me back from new values that I've adopted over the years. I know that my ego wants me to stay comfortable and it wants me to maintain an identity that I've cultivated over the years, because if I have to restart, then where do I even start? I'll be confused again. So I need to check in on my values and see what I really value in life and if my actions are really pushing myself to those values. And if it's not, then is there some aspect of my ego that's holding me back to protect me? And do I need this protection? I don't think so, because no matter what action I do right now, I'm a pretty safe person, even if my mind thinks I'm going to ruin. I hope that you can also consider the opportunities that you've avoided or shied away from, but also think about the times where you thought you were limited by something and then you just broke that limitation and just charged forward with a completely new identity. Because you'll see how malleable your world is by changing your perception of what you can do and what you can't do. So thank you for listening, and I'll see you next week.